Okay, 487. Oops, almost forgot. 487, number 6. The amount of time it takes for most of a worker's occupational knowledge and skills to become obsolete has been declining because of the introduction of advanced manufacturing technology, or AMT. Given the rate at which AMT is currently being introduced in manufacturing, the average worker's old skills become obsolete and new skills are required within as little as 5 years. Which of the following plans, if feasible, would allow a company to prepare most effectively for the rapid obsolescence of skills described above? So again, we want to do a little paraphrasing. This AMT thing, this technology, AMT, causes rapid obsolescence. And we need an answer that addresses the fact that worker skills can go obsolete as soon as as soon as 2 years. So we could sit here all day guessing, I think, about what sorts of things those might be, but we need to take a look at the answer choices to see which seems likely to address this obsolescence of skills. Just to be clear, obsolescence or obsolete means no longer current, no longer useful. Like in the United States anyway, horse-drawn carriages are obsolete. Or when I was little, my family got a VCR, and the VCR had a remote with a cord on it. Now a remote, like for your TV, with a cord on it would be considered obsolete. Technology has surpassed that, and we no longer need cords on our remote control. Okay. So anyway, just a little definition there in case you weren't familiar with the word. Which of the following would allow the company to prepare? Choice A, the company will develop a program to offer selected employees the opportunity to receive training 6 years after they were originally hired. So remember that the skills go obsolete after 2 years, and they can get training 6 years after they're hired. So that's definitely too late to deal with this AMT stuff. Also, it says selected employees. It sounds like this could happen to everybody in a given industry with this AMT, so it's also too little. They need to do something for all employees, not just select ones. So too little, too late, choice A is not a good plan. B, the company will increase its investment in AMT every year for a period of at least 5 years. So AMT is the thing that actually makes workers' skills go obsolete. It's this technology that is rapidly changing the field, and their skills are no longer useful after 2 years. If the company invests more in AMT, it could potentially increase the rate at which worker skills become obsolete. So this is actually the reverse of what they want, which gives us a hint that one of their options, I suppose, is to invest less in AMT. But it does sound like from the terms of the passage that AMT is it's already been introduced. So the cat is out of the bag, as we say, and so they need to learn to deal with AMT. They can't just not have it. Choice C, the company will periodically survey its employees to determine how the introduction of AMT has affected them. So a survey does nothing. I mean, it allows you to find out how employees have been affected, but it does not actually introduce a measure to help the employees deal with the changes, or help the company deal with the changes. So a survey collects information. It does not have an effect, no impact. Choice D, before the introduction of AMT, the company will institute an educational program to inform its employees of the probable consequences of the introduction of AMT. So, before they introduce AMT, they will have a little seminar where they said, hey, by the way, everybody, your skills are going to be obsolete as soon as 2 years. Okay, back to work, grab a donut on your way out. So just telling people what's going to happen, again, does not actually change what's happening. We need something that addresses the impact of AMT, not just informs people about it. So process of elimination, all these answer choices are really wrong, so it must be E, but let's read it anyway. The company will ensure that it can offer its employees any training necessary for meeting their job requirements. So if skills are becoming obsolete after 2 years, the ability to get any training needed anytime. Anytime your skill becomes obsolete, you can get the training you need from your company. That addresses the issues that AMT presents a company. So clearly, that does address the obsolescence of skills by allowing workers to get new ones whenever they need them. So definitely right. Answer choice E. Okay, 487, number 7. Traverton's City Council wants to minimize the city's average yearly expenditures on its traffic signal lights, and so is considering replacing the incandescent bulbs currently in use with arrays of light-emitting diodes, LEDs, as the incandescent bulbs burn out. Compared to incandescent bulbs, LED arrays consume significantly less energy and cost no more to purchase. Moreover, the costs associated with the conversion of existing fixtures so as to accept LED arrays would be minimal. Which of the following would be most useful? Which of the following would it be most useful to know in determining whether switching to LED arrays would be likely to help minimize Traverton's yearly maintenance costs? This is one where the question stem clearly has information that is key to getting the answer correct. The question is specifically asking which of the following helps us determine whether their yearly maintenance costs are minimized. Okay, we've already established that LEDs use less energy and have the same purchase price, the same entry price or whatever. So by default, those two things will enable LEDs to cost less in terms of maintenance because they have the same purchase and less energy. However, it seems like there's at least one other question that must be able to be asked because that's what the question is about. Right, so it needs to be about maintenance costs though. Choice A, whether the expected service life of LED arrays is at least as long as that of the currently used incandescent bulbs. So, we know that they use less energy. This is LEDs. Less energy, same cost. The question is, if they have the same life expectancy, then yes, that actually sounds like the sort of thing we're after. If they have the same life expectancy as incandescent bulbs, just the fact alone that they use less energy would reduce Traverton's maintenance costs. And of course, your real life knowledge may tell you, A, that they definitely don't have the same cost right now, but they definitely also don't have the same life. LEDs last way longer. But again, for purposes of the passage, we need to take the passage as true, so ignore that. If they have the same life or longer, LEDs are clearly useful. If they have a shorter life, it is no longer a clear savings for Traverton. So knowing how long they last is absolutely valuable. Let's check the other answers though. Is it useful to know, B, whether any cities have switched from incandescent lights in their traffic signals to lighting elements other than LED arrays? So this is outside the scope of the passage. Not only is it other cities, it's also things other than LED or incandescent bulbs. The question is specifically, would LEDs have cheaper maintenance costs? That is all the question is asking. Choice B would be something that a real business person would need to consider. They would want to look at what other cities have done to see whether their costs turned out to be, lower, and if the real life data matched projections. That's something a real business person would do, but for the GMAT, we need to specify. We need to stay focused on the question being asked. The question is about LEDs in Traverton, not things other than LEDs in other cities. Choice C, whether the company from which Traverton currently buys incandescent bulbs for traffic signals also sells LED arrays. Again, in real life, this would be an issue because potentially there's some sort of contract or, the way the supply chain is set up that it would make sense to go with the same company, but it's beyond the scope of the passage. Choice D, whether Traverton City Council plans to increase the number of traffic signal lights in Traverton. Well, I guess it's useful, but we're just looking at if they're going to increase those number of lights, their maintenance costs are going to go up no matter what, whether they stick with incandescent bulbs or put in LED bulbs. So it's basically irrelevant to the passage. Their maintenance costs will go up no matter which kind of bulb they use. Choice E, whether the crews that currently replace incandescent bulbs in Traverton's traffic signals know how to convert the existing fixtures so as to accept LED arrays. So yes, that would be useful. If they don't know how and they have to get some sort of special gizmo, or if they have to bring in a special crew, that's still only a one-time cost associated with the switch to LEDs. The question is specifically about maintenance. And this is why I was referring earlier to the importance of reading the question stem. This answer could have been very tempting if the question had been about total cost or about the cost of switching. But since the question is about ongoing maintenance, the cost of installing is irrelevant to that particular question, actually. So that leaves us only with choice A, the life expectancy of LED arrays. Okay, page 488. Question number 8. A report that many apples contain a cancer-causing preservative called aller apparently had little effect on consumers. Few consumers planned to change their apple buying habits as a result of the report. Nonetheless, sales of apples in grocery stores fell sharply in March, a month after the report was issued. Which of the following, if true, best explains the reason for the apparent discrepancy described above? So with discrepancy questions, we need a reason. We're looking to explain why something would have happened. This is kind of a paradox type thing, or it looks like a paradox, but of course it's actually not. So few consumers planned to change their habits. So basically, the drop in Apple sales in grocery stores was not due to consumers. So we need a reason other than consumer demand that Apple sales went down. And so, of course, the likely target, again, without even looking at the answer choices, think back to your economics. If demand is unchanged and sales went down, perhaps something happened to the supply. So let's look for something like that in the answer choices, but we do need to be open to some other reason. Choice A, in March, many grocers removed apples from their shelves in order to demonstrate concern about their customers' health. So right there's an example of something that impacted the apple supply to consumers, which would have reduced sales without consumer demand being affected significantly. So that sounds pretty good. Let's check the other ones, though. Choice B, because of a growing number of food safety warnings, consumers in March were indifferent to such warnings. Really, that's strengthening what the passage already says, that consumers were not particularly worried about this health warning and weren't going to do anything differently. So if anything, it strengthens what the original argument was, that it's a mystery why Apple sales went down when consumer demand was the same. Choice C, the report was delivered on television and also appeared in newspapers. That's completely irrelevant. Has nothing to do with Apple sales at all. Really, the medium of the message is completely irrelevant. Choice D, the report did not mention that any other fruit contains aller. I'm not actually sure I'm pronouncing that right, but I think I might be. Maybe it's aller. I think it might be aller. I'll look it up later. Anyway, although the preservative is used on other fruit. So other fruit, completely irrelevant to the passage. This is all about what happened with apples. I think it is aller, actually. Anyway, public health officials did not believe that apples posed a health threat because only minute traces of aller were present in affected apples. So what public officials believed is also irrelevant. Again, we need something that explains why apple sales did not go down. If anything, that public health officials if they didn't think it was a big deal, that further strengthens the notion that it's a big mystery why apple sales went down. If nobody thought this was a big deal and was planning to continue to buy apples, or was continuing to buy apples, then that strengthens the argument that it's very mysterious. Choice A, however, is the only one that makes it less of a mystery why apple sales went down in March.